So you're about to teach your very first piano lesson. Congratulations! The first time you leave the bench and sit in the teaching chair beside it is always going to be a pretty big deal. In this video, I'll make it go as smooth as possible for you. I can still remember my very first student when I was just a teenager. I now run a multi-teacher studio and I teach teachers all over the world and provide resources for them. But I wasn't always as confident about my teaching, and of course, like all of us, I still have moments of doubt. Let me hold your hand and take you through the first lesson experience. We've got this. Step 1 is to plan. Prepare your plan for your first lesson. So you might be taking on piano teaching because of the money. Let's be honest, you might be adding it in because you want extra income, and you can make money as a piano teacher. But your first lesson ever is not going to be profitable. It's going to work out at less than minimum wage in all likelihood by the time you've planned for that lesson and then taught it. This will get better over time, but know that the investment you put in now is worth it because you're investing in your skills as well as this one lesson. So if you're worried that this planning is taking too much time while you're doing it, know that you're probably doing it right and that it will get faster in time. Let me give you a suggested plan to get you started. I think one of the first steps in any piano lesson should be to get your student started and excited and sitting right, all in one smooth maneuver. So this is about introducing your student to the fact that they are now, from this day forward, a musician or a pianist or a cellist if you're teaching another instrument. So now they need to step into that role. And pianists, this is how they sit at the piano. They always have their feet planted, they always sit up tall, they sit on the front part of the bench, they always check the bench, and you show them how to check the distance and all of that. By framing this as you are becoming a musician and this is how musicians are, you're simultaneously getting your student to take it seriously, their posture at the piano, and reinforcing the new identity, which they are a musician. From this day forward, they are becoming a musician. Step 2 should be to make some music. Now, they don't know how to play anything yet. Not a problem. We're going to improvise. If you have never improvised before, don't worry about it. I'm going to show you a simple black key pattern that you can use as the teacher to accompany your student while they play on the black keys. So we're going to play in G flat major, and they are going to play any keys they want on the black keys. Anything they want on the black keys. That's the instruction you give them. Just join in with me playing whatever you want on the black keys, and this is the pattern you can play. Now, of course, if you know chords already, feel free to make up your own, but if you're new to this, watch along and practice this pattern a lot of times before your first lesson. We'll start with the left hand. It's going to play G flat or 1, then D flat or 5, E flat, which is 6, and B, which is 4. So that's G flat, D flat, E flat, B. The right hand is going to be based on the chords, but we're going to do just 2 note chords each time. So we're going to do an open fifth for the G flat, and then we're going to do the middle note from the D flat chord with the D flat at the top. So it's going to be F and D flat. Next we have the 6th chord, which is the E flat. So we're going to do, again, the middle note from the chord, which is G flat, but with the E flat on top. And then for the B, we're going to do that G flat or F sharp, whatever you want to call it, along with the B here. So that's our 4 chord. So it goes. Of course, there are many other ways to play that chord pattern, so if you want to do it your own way, that's absolutely fine. I'm just giving you an option in case you haven't played like this before at all. So we're going to do the 2 together. Hold for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you get comfortable with that, you can vary it a lot more in terms of what the right hand does while keeping the left hand holding that down. So you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, or you could get fancier than that. You could do any rhythm pattern will work. It can also be left hand first. Whatever version you're doing, when you want it to be the end, do a cadence by doing the 5 chord again, which is this one, and then coming back to 1. So I'll show you what that looks like with a few times in a row, and then the cadence at the end. I nearly added an octave there. You can absolutely do that, but you don't need it if you don't want it. So while you're doing that pattern, whatever way you do it, your student is going to improvise on the black keys. And if they're hesitant about it, here's what you do. You keep your pattern going in your left hand. So we've started, and they're not playing anything. You're going to give another opportunity to try it. And just play a few notes in their register so that they can see that, like, if they play any black key, it'll be fine. Amazing! So you've got your improv, they've already made some music, they're feeling fantastic because it all sounds fantastic on the black keys when we play like that. And now it's time to give them something they can really take home and practice. I suggest you do a rote piece at this stage. This is a piece that you teach entirely by patterns and imitation, not from written music. I don't like to include any written music in the first few lessons because I believe it helps us to connect to the technique we need, the musicality, the listening, and getting to know our students before we put pages onto the stand and into the picture. So I believe that the first piece should be taught by rote. You can do something simple that you already know, like hot cross buns or something like that, or you can do something more elaborate. This slightly depends on your student's age more than anything else. If they are, say, a teen or an adult student, we have rote pieces included in our teen and adult beginner course called Creative Kickstart. That's inside our Vibrant Music Teaching Library. And that course, those rote pieces, those are quite involved, right? There's quite a lot going on. They sound rich, they have chords, and there are ways to adapt them to make them easier, of course, but they are going to sound pretty big. Whereas hot cross buns is obviously a lot of a simpler option, and there's everything in between. So if you're curious about rote pieces, you could check out our course, which is Creative Kickstart. You could look at Piano Safari, which is a piano method book that incorporates rote pieces, or you could look up roterepertoire.com. That's a series of pieces by Samantha Coates, and you can mix and match by one at a time. It's a really great way to get started. Next, play a game. Inject some more fun into your student's lesson and let them get to know you better, because when we play a game, we kind of get out of too much of teacher mode and get to really connect with our student in a different way. So a game you could play at this level would be something to do with basic rhythm or the piano keys. If you're teaching a very young student, I suggest a game that just focuses on the groups of 2 and 3 black keys. If you're looking for games like this, you can of course search around the internet. There are some out there on blogs and things for free, including on our own. Or if you want a direct route, you can just go to Vibrant Music Teaching, and if you're a member, then you can get access to games. By the way, we do have a special rate for new teachers on Vibrant Music Teaching, so if you're worried about the cost, initially when you're just getting started with teaching, we have a really special deal just for you. You just have to write to us and let us know your situation. So you've laid out your plan at this stage. Maybe you've included all the things I've said, maybe you've come up with your own ideas, but you've got it all laid out in bullet points, in notes. Now you need to practice it. You need to get so good at it that you feel uber confident going to that first lesson. And this is where you need your flamingo. Okay, it doesn't have to be a flamingo, but you need some kind of practice student. And I really suggest you just use a teddy bear if you don't have a dummy student on hand. If you have like a parent or a sibling or a friend or something that you can force to be your first test student and rehearse it with you, that's great, and do that. But if you don't, just get a cuddly toy, at the very least a pan from the kitchen, literally anything to use as your student. I like a cuddly toy because at least it has a bit of personality and it's a bit more convincing. And the flamingo is perfect because he's going to sit on the bench and practice his posture really well, right? Right. So practice it over and over, and don't let yourself being embarrassed about kind of doing this with yourself in a room get in the way. That practice is going to make such a difference. Okay, you've got this. You've got a plan, you've been practicing it, you've been putting in the time. Now, I want you to see this just like you see a piano performance. If you've played in recitals, if you played in concerts or for friends or for sing-alongs, this is like that. It's like that because before those performances, you might get nervous. But you might know the trick to dealing with those nerves is to tell yourself that it's excitement. Because the reaction in your body of nervousness, you know, the racing heart, the maybe sweaty palms, the butterflies in the tummy, those things all also go along with being excited. So be excited about the lesson, use the nerves to your advantage, and don't let them turn into anxiety about this. After all, it's just you and a student. They're there to enjoy the piano. They want to take lessons. You love the piano. It's all going to go much better than you might imagine. After that first lesson, you might have gotten a little bit of a taste of how much there still is to learn. So make sure you follow up. If you think this is something you might like to do for the long term, then go get help. Seek out Facebook groups where we talk about teaching issues, or join a professional membership like Vibrant Music Teaching, and remember we have that special rate for you, or another one that takes your fancy. I don't care if it's ours or if it's someone else's, but join in somewhere, find a community, because doing this alone is just not a good way to be. So I wish you all the best success in your first lesson, and so does my pet flamingo, and I will see you back here in the next video.